All right, let's get into this Mississippi State prep, man. Mississippi State, we're actually favored by 9.5 homecoming back in the
What
swamp, baby.
shocker.
I think it's like 4:15 this Saturday. Year two now for Jeff Lebby and his Bulldog team. The Gators did come out on top last year. We went to the Cowbell City and got it done, baby, over there in Starkville. They're killing it this year, though, man. I think they did start out 4-0, if I'm not mistaken. They're playing really well for the most part. Lost an overtime game to Tennessee. Should have won that one, man, and then lost to Texas A&M. So they did have a bye week, by the way, before they're playing us. So that's something to think about. They have had a whole week to prep us. EJ talks about that, on how for some reason these teams seem to have a bye week or an easy game before us, and so they've had time to prep. So keep an eye out for that. This is a team that's going to be refreshed and ready to go. This team is a solid group. Jeff Lebby's done a really good job building this program up, more than Billy Napier's done with Florida. They've had a couple really good, one really good win over Arizona State, had a dogfight with Tennessee, and did play well in the first half against Texas A&M. Jeff Lebby's offense is an offense that loves explosive plays in the pass game, but also loves to run the ball. You'll see them rely on their two good running backs that they have, Bothwell and Davion Booth. These guys are really both averaging at least 4.5 yards a carry in a 6 and 4 rushing touchdowns. The backfield is also led by Blake Shapen, though, at the quarterback position. 1,200 yards passing, 67% completion percentage, and 9 touchdowns on 4 interceptions. He has been sacked 16 times. That's a big issue, by the way. This offensive line for Mississippi State, not great in the pass protection. Hopefully, I think we can see this game, especially in the crowd being in the swamp. I could see it getting loud and them being discombobulated, and this pass rush for the Gator defense getting to Blake Shapen. But they also do have some really good guys on the outside in Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans III. These are two really good deep threats, even alongside Jordan Mosley there, who's pretty much just been explosive plays all year. They do like to target their tight end, unlike Texas A&M. We talked about that. They actually have a really good tight end. I'm not going to try to say his name, but he's a guy who is definitely capable there on the edge in the past game. So an offense that, like I said, loves these explosive plays. Explosive plays have hurt Florida at times this year when we have not been able to get to the quarterback. Good news, this Gator defense and these ends should be able to get to the quarterback. So this should be similar to Texas game, I believe. We should see what's going on there. Defensively for Mississippi State, they have given up over 4 yards, almost 4.5 yards a carry. And one thing to look at, though, they have more interceptions than pass touchdowns allowed this year. So this is a secondary who is pretty dynamic in the back. They will let up plays, of course. You know what I mean. This is a big jump from last year. Mississippi State's defense last year was horrendous. I think they were like 120 something in the country. They were really, really bad, even though they had a decent offense at times. Even though Shapen obviously did get hurt last year. So yeah. This took a big step forward. They did a really good job in the transfer portal, getting in a lot of guys, and just a really good job by Jeff Lebby in that sense. So a lot of new faces. They have a couple of really good defensive linemen to keep an eye out for. That should be kind of a test for this Gator offensive line. I really like Dickens there. He has 14 tackles and a sack and doing well in that sense. There's another guy too. I forgot his name, man. That's gonna bother me. There's another defensive lineman for Mississippi State, interior defensive lineman that has 2 sacks. Has been playing very, very well. So great, decent linebacker crew as well. They have struggled with tackling at times. This is also a Mississippi State team who has played 3 very easy games, so their stats are going to be inflated a little bit. But yeah, just a very capable defense that can get stops and can affect the quarterback. So just something to keep an eye out there in this game. So anyways, we'll obviously dive into it a little bit more, but EJ, how do you feel about this Mississippi State team, man, coming in the swamp?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head here. The first thing that kind of jumps out are the tackles for Mississippi State. Having played 4 straight top 10 teams, that position, seeing the team with the most vulnerable tackles was Texas. And ironically, that's the team that we had the most success on defense against. They have Jayon James and Luke Work, who are both graded very, very low in their pass blocking, both in the 60s. Um, Actually, Luke Work is at 72, but in terms of his overall grade at that tackle position, he comes in at a 53.7. So, but typically what happens is you get these low-rated players, and then when they play us, all of a sudden they're Superman. So we'll see what happens. So that's an opportunity for us to go one-on-one, beat your man, get to reduce the time that Shapen has, even though he's a little bit mobile, and force him to throw into max coverage. On the offensive side of the ball, a couple of keys. You've got to not turn the ball over. When you think about the upset opportunity for Mississippi State in this game, it's going to come from Florida turning the ball over. And so DJ Lagway has thrown 9 touchdowns, 7 picks, Shapen 9 touchdowns, 4 picks. Can we throw the ball deep down the field to exploit a somewhat vulnerable Mississippi State secondary without turning the ball over? Can we establish Jaden Ball early? It's almost like Moses himself gives Billy Napier in stone, here are the 10 commandments. If you do them, your team will be successful. And then like Billy Napier either doesn't have his glasses on or his hearing aids in. And so he doesn't do any of the 10 that we're telling him. But we're telling him pound the ball with Jaden Ball, and then let's see if we can hit some intermediate passes with Dallas Wilson. The other key I put in this game, I think, for Florida's defense, is stopping the run game. Bothwell, I think, is their running back. They average 183 yards rushing a game, which is significantly more than we do. But again, we played 4 top 10 teams, so you can take our stats with a grain of salt at this point. Um, if we can stop their run, similar to how we did against Texas, even similar to Texas A&M, or not Texas A&M, LSU, who are more comparable type teams to Mississippi State, I like our chances on getting them to third down and long. Lastly, red zone. Normally, I would say let's execute in the red zone. You got to get to the freaking red zone first. When you get into the red zone in this game, which I have a feeling Florida's going to be able to move the ball between the 20s. But it's when you get into the red zone against Mississippi State, is it a USF game where we are now just kicking field goals every 5 seconds? Because Billy Napier loves him a good old field goal attempt. Or can you actually score touchdowns? If we watch this game and we get into that red zone and Billy Napier's like, well, let's just put out Trey Smack out there and see if he can make a field goal.
With 10 players.
With who's counting? We are probably going to lose this game because Mississippi State, that means 1 or 2 plays, they can score a touchdown, and that's basically 3 field goals right there. So you got to score touchdowns. Billy Napier, can you get that in your brain? We'll see what happens. So those are my keys to the game. I'm actually kind of shocked that we're a 9.5 point favorite in this game.
Crazy.
I think from a statistical profile, they just trust our stats a little bit more than Mississippi State, apparently. But I can definitely see a game where Mississippi State kind of starts off fast and we have to kind of take over the game late. So that's sort of how I look at this game. I think it'll be an entertaining game. Hopefully we can come out on top here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. My offensive key here, 5 yards to carry for this Florida Gator team. I think we get 5 yards to carry, man, establish a run on a very vulnerable Mississippi State defense in front in that respect. then I'm not worried about this game. I think if we get that, that's an automatic win for the Gators. Defensively for me, it's and of course DJ Lagway, like you talked about, getting in the red zone. That field's now very condensed, and with the amount of interceptions DJ has thrown, you take away that LSU game, he's only thrown 2, but there's been a few scary throws still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On a condensed field in a secondary that has, they have a scent for the football. Be very careful, right? Don't screw up a long drive. Let's keep that going. But yeah, I think 5 yards of carry will be good there. Defensively, hold them to under 3.5 yards of carry. I think the Gators will do a good enough job, like I said, getting to the quarterback to where Blake Shapen, even though there will be open wide receivers down the field, very similar to Texas, I don't think he'll either won't be able to have a clean pocket to throw the football, not be able to step into the throw to throw the football, or he'll get hit as he throws, like what happened with Arch Manning. So I'm not too worried about the explosive plays in this game. I'm going to go with more of a, I don't want them to be able to fall back on a run game. If they're able to fall back on a run game, even if we get 5 yards of carry, I'm scared, EJ. This could definitely be a loss for the Gators. So we have to stop the run under 3.5 yards of carry. I think that's an automatic win for the Gators because I think we'll do a decent job, holding those explosive plays to a minimum in that sense. So yeah, I'm not too worried. And if everything goes right, but yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. I think, like you said, it's going to come down to, are we doing field goals or are we doing touchdowns? Mississippi State's an offense that can have a touchdown any moment. They're explosive. Yep. Blake Shape is a good quarterback. It's his 3rd year as a starter. He has a shit ton of experience. He understands the game of football, and he will exploit your defense down the field if you give him time. So that's a big key is get to the quarterback. But when Texas A&M played them, I think they had like 4 sacks and like 9 tackles for loss, very similar to what happened to us. So I think that I'm not too worried with Jaden Woods. Even Sharif Denson coming around the corner on a nickel blitz. I think there's a lot of things you could do there with the different kinds of blitzes you can do. So, yep, we should be good there. Anything else you want to touch on, EJ, before we do this score prediction?
The other thing that makes our schedule so tough, and we talk about it all the time, is everybody's team tends to have like either a bye week or a cupcake before us. And Mississippi State's coming off a bye. Let's wait and see what the injury report. I'm sure we'll have basically a whole roster of players on our injury report, and they'll probably have like 2 guys. So that's the other thing. You can't win these games if half the team's injured. Let's see what that looks like. But overall, I feel confident looking at the matchups here. Can Billy Napier have a game plan? We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, man. Also, first game that me and EJ are going to be at together in the Swamp. It's going to be a great time, man. It's going to be an absolute blast. Yes. A lot of content. We'll figure out some stuff to post and some stuff to do, of course, for sure. So keep an eye out on the socials. Link in the description down below. All right, let's do the score predictions, EJ. I went first last week. This is all you.
So I think how this game is going to go is Mississippi State's going to be the team that's going to come out with a little fire, a little spunk. I could see them taking like a 10-3 lead early. And then I think as the game goes on, our defense will start to get some pressure. We'll start to create some sacks. I'd love if we get a turnover. If we intercept it, we're going to have to run that thing back because that's the only way we're going to score off of a turnover. I think the game will be a touchdown. We'll be up by a touchdown in the 4th quarter, and then we'll be able to kind of punch one more in to kind of put the game out of reach. So I'm going to go Florida. I'll say 34-23. So I'll say we cover. All right. I think we're probably up 27-23, and then we punch it in there late to kind of make it look like we were doing something the whole game when it was actually close. So I'll say 34-23, even though 23 points would actually be a lot for Mississippi State to score, but I think they'll get most of them early, and 34-23 Gators.
I like it. I agree. I think it's going to be a dogfight early, and the fans probably like, what the hell's going on? I think that the Gators do eventually win 23-13. I think it's going to be so. I think they cover as well, that 9.5 point spread there. But I do think it's kind of a low-scoring game for the offense. I think, like you said, they're going to rely on field goals. It's going to be a field goal type game here, which is going to be very, very scary. But I do agree. I think these scripted drives for Mississippi State, going away from the pressure, you know what I mean, stuff like that, I think that's going to work really well. I think Jeff Levy's going to cook for a bit. But I think as the game goes on, tackles get a little bit slow. You know what I mean? Mississippi State's not ready for the Swamp, and I think it's just going to get to them, whether that's penalties and 3rd and longs, which I'm assuming is what's going to happen. And I think it's going to eat at this Mississippi State offense, and I think the Gators do pull it out 23-13. So there you go. What was yours again, EJ? It was 34-23?
34-23.
All right, well, let's see what happens, man. Going to be a fun time in the Swamp there. You guys give us your score predictions down below, man. It's going to be a great time. Follow us on our socials. We'll give you guys all the insights. It's going to be amazing, baby. Can't wait to be back in the Swamp.